Coming up on Arirang News. North Korea fires more than 200 rounds of artillery shells off its west coast near the maritime border with two South Korean islands, prompting an evacuation of the residents there. The Islamic State group claims responsibility for the twin blasts at a memorial for a slain Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani that killed at least 84 people and left hundreds of others wounded. The United Nations projects the world to face weak economic growth this year of 2.4% amid high interest rates, regional conflicts, sluggish international trade, and climate disasters. But it expects a major improvement in South Korea's economic growth. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We start with North Korea firing hundreds of artillery shells off its western coast this morning, near South Korean islands located close to the inter-Korean border, as it scrapped the 2018 military pact a few months ago. Pyongyang says it was to counteract the South's combat firing drills. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung leads us off.
North Korea has fired what is presumed to be coastal artillery shells into waters near South Korea's border islands west of Incheon. Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff detected that more than 200 artillery shells were fired from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Friday from areas north of South Korea's Pangyeongdo and Yeonpyeongdo islands. The shells splashed into waters north of the northern limit line in the maritime buffer zone. The last time North Korea opened fire in the maritime buffer zone was around a year ago in waters off Gangwon-do province. But Friday's provocation comes after the regime terminated the September 19th inter-Korean military agreement last November, following South Korea's partial suspension of the pact in protest of the regime's spy satellite launch. Under the agreement signed in 2018, a maritime buffer zone was established in the NLL to prevent armed conflict, prohibiting such artillery fire. South Korea's military denounced the provocation, calling it a threat to peace on the Korean peninsula, and vowed to take action.
We sternly warn that North Korea is solely responsible for the escalated crisis and strongly urge the North to stop immediately. Our military is tracking and monitoring the situation under close cooperation with the United States and will implement measures corresponding to North Korea's provocations.
Shortly after the warning, the South Korean military conducted maritime live fire drills at the northwestern border islands under the watch of the defense minister. These were the first such exercises conducted by the South Korean military in the maritime buffer zone since the inter-Korean military agreement was signed in 2018. Minister Shin Won-sik stressed that the military must be able to, quote, completely destroy the enemy so that it will never dare to provoke again. The JCS said no damage had been done to the island's residents or the military following the North's provocation. However, South Korea did order civilians to evacuate to shelters at around noon at the request of the South Korean military. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Staying on the peninsula, the South Korean military has detected North Korea recently rebuilding its guard post in the demilitarized zone with concrete. Back in November, North Korea reinstalled the guard post using wood after scrapping a cross-border military pact signed in 2018 aimed at easing tensions along the border. The regime's troops have also been deploying landmines on a road connecting the two Koreas. The White House says North Korea recently provided Russia with ballistic missiles and that at least one was used to attack Ukraine during the past week. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Jung-sil has the details.
Washington says Pyongyang has been supplying Moscow with ballistic missiles and that Russia has used them against Ukraine.
Our information indicates that the Democratic People's Republic of Korea recently provided Russia with ballistic missile launchers and several ballistic missiles. On the 30th of December, 2023, Russian forces launched at least one of these North Korean ballistic missiles into Ukraine.
He added that on January 2nd, multiple ballistic missiles were launched into Ukraine and that the impact of the additional North Korean missiles is being assessed. Kirby said the missiles had a range of about 900 kilometers.
This is a significant and concerning escalation in the DPRK's support for Russia. Now, in return for its support, we assess that Pyongyang is seeking military assistance from Russia.
He added that this would have concerning security implications for the Korean Peninsula and the Indo-Pacific region. The U.S. has previously accused North Korea of supplying weapons to Russia as part of their military cooperation, especially after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un visited Russia to meet President Vladimir Putin back in September. Kirby said the U.S. will raise these arms deals at the UN Security Council and demand that Russia be held accountable for yet again violating its international obligations. A South Korean Unification Ministry official also strongly condemned the weapons deal on Friday, saying it is extremely concerning that the weapons deal has now extended from the North sending Russia shells to it now also supplying ballistic missiles. The official added this is a clear violation of the UN Security Council resolutions and an illegal act. Both Moscow and Pyongyang have denied conducting any arms deals. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
The U.S. government has placed North Korea on a list of countries of particular concern for religious freedom violations for 22 years straight. Our Yoon reports.
On Thursday, the United States released its annual assessment of religious freedom in countries around the world. Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced the list of countries that he said have engaged in or tolerated particular severe violations of religious freedom, keeping all 12 countries on the blacklist from the year before. Named as countries of particular concern are China, Cuba, Eritrea, Iran, Myanmar, Nicaragua, North Korea, Pakistan, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan, making it the 22nd consecutive year for North Korea to appear on the annually updated list. The 12 countries were on an original list of 17 countries recommended by the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom for designation as countries of particular concern in May 2023. The commission cited religious freedom in North Korea to be among the worst in the world, as those caught practicing religion or even suspected of harboring religious views in private are subject to severe punishment, including arrest, torture, imprisonment, and execution. Designated on a special watch list are Algeria, Azerbaijan, the Central African Republic, Comoros, and Vietnam, also for engaging in or tolerating severe violations of religious freedom. In his statement, Blinken recognized that significant violations of religious freedom are also occurring in countries not designated, and that efforts must be made by governments to end abuses and attacks on members of religious minority communities, particularly their places of worship. Since 1998, when the U.S. Congress passed the International Religious Freedom Act, the U.S. government has annually assessed religious freedom in countries around the world and issued designations of countries of concern. Yoon, Arirang News.
In the Middle East, the Islamic State group has claimed responsibility for deadly bombings in Iran. Our Islamic tells us why it targeted Iran and whether this will lead to escalating violence in the region.
Amid rising regional tensions from the Israel-Hamas war and the Red Sea attacks by Iran-backed Houthi rebels, the recent deadly bombings in Iran by the Islamic State group have added to worries of escalating violence in the region. IS has claimed responsibility for the bombings on Wednesday at the memorial service for Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. The bombings in Kerman killed at least 84 people and injured 284. According to Reuters, IS stated on Thursday via Telegram about the terror attack. Also on Thursday, Iran's IRNA news agency reported that 2 IS members wearing explosive vests carried out the bombings. United States National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby also commented on the attack.
We have seen the public credit now that ISIS-K has taken for the attack in Iran. We're certainly in no position to doubt that claim by ISIS-K.
But what drove IS to commit a terrorist attack in Iran at this particular time?
In the fact of this Israel-Hamas conflict and all of the medias are kind of blaming Iran as the mastermind of. So ISIS are kind of using this strategical environment, but they realize that even if they commit this kind of crime, there was less possibility that global community will gonna criticize ISIS. And
Islamic State is an extremist Sunni Islam group and is hostile to Iran because it considers Shia Islam as heresy, and Iran is considered as a leader of Shia Islam. The expert also said that IS is fighting to regain its influence in the Lebanon and Iraq area, and that they view Iran as the biggest obstacle to them being able to do so. But the expert emphasized that the possibility of a wider Middle Eastern war is unlikely to happen.
It is very highly unlikely to happen. There is no incentive for the Iran or ILGC or Hezbollah to expand this war into another level. So I believe it is all the key are now in the hands of the Israel IDF, Israel Defense Force.
Meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council strongly condemned the bombing in Iran and emphasized that the perpetrators and the forces behind the attack must be held accountable. The Security Council urged all UN members to actively cooperate with the Iranian government. 이수진, Arirang News.
Over in Japan, the death toll continues to rise, now over 90 from Monday's earthquake. Thousands of rescuers pressed on in a search for survivors, hoping to save as many as possible. Jung Eun-ju has the latest.
Japan is facing a battle against time to rescue those affected by a series of major earthquakes that struck the central prefecture of Ishikawa on the first day of the new year. The death toll continues to rise as a 7.6 magnitude earthquake struck at a shallow depth in the Noto region of Ishikawa and its vicinity on Monday. As of Friday morning, at least 91 have been killed, with more than 400 injured and an additional 172 reported missing. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida on Thursday at a meeting of the Emergency Disaster Response Headquarters urged officials to mobilize all available resources to maximize life-saving efforts and lifeline supply within the first 72 hours of the disaster. Experts say the first 72 hours after earthquakes are especially critical because the prospects for survival greatly diminish after that. Rescue operations, however, have been hindered by badly damaged and blocked roads, and one of the area's airports has been forced to close due to runway cracks. Rainfall on Wednesday in Wajima City has exacerbated search and rescue efforts. Material aid has trickled in, but many evacuees remain largely cut off from food, water, electricity, and communications amid freezing temperatures and bad weather. Japan's Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism announced on Thursday that a transport ship carrying food and essential supplies was set to arrive in Ishikawa Prefecture by Friday evening. The government has pledged it will proactively provide supplies instead of waiting for official requests from local authorities. It also quintupled the number of self-defense force members tasked with rescue operations since Monday, putting the total number of rescuers at about 7,000. The Japan Meteorological Agency has officially named the recent earthquake the 2024 Noto Peninsula earthquake. Jung Eun-ju, Arirang News.
The United Nations projects the world to face weak economic growth this year of 2.4% amid strong headwinds. But it expects a major improvement in South Korea's economic growth. Our Lee Kyung-eun explains.
2023 saw stronger than expected growth coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. But the UN projects a slowdown in the new year, forecasting a 2.4% growth rate. That's 0.3 percentage points lower than its previous estimate. The forecast comes on high interest rates, regional conflicts, sluggish international trade, and climate disasters, prompting the UN Secretary General to call for big, bold investments to put the global economy on a stronger growth path for all. Major economies will be among the hardest hit, like the U.S., the world's largest economy, whose growth is expected to drop to 1.4% this year from 2.5% last year. China is also projected to see a modest slowdown, with its growth estimated at 4.7%, while Europe and Japan are forecast to see 1.2% growth. However, the UN estimates the South Korean economy will grow in line with the global pace at 2.4%. There will be a major improvement from the 1.4% growth rate in 2023, which was hit by weak private spending. Despite high borrowing costs, the report points to a rebound in investment, which will lead to a higher growth in the new year. That is in line with South Korean government's predictions, with recovering exports to be another contributor. Yoon, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, President Yoon has shed light on the first mover advantage in innovation while pledging to expand R&D funding during his term in office. Speaking at a New Year's event on this Friday for those in the field of science and technology, he further underscored the importance of, quote, game-changing future technologies such as artificial intelligence, not only for global leadership but also for quality employment. He also took the occasion to remind the nearly 400 attendees of his intentions to install a senior secretary for science and technology to enhance productive communication between government officials and industry insiders. Exports of South Korea's cultural content, such as music, games, animation, and films, recorded an all-time high in 2022. According to the Culture Ministry on Friday, exports in the content sector amounted to over $13.2 billion. That's an on-year increase of some 6%. The value of the exports surpassed those of rechargeable batteries, electric vehicles, and even home appliances. Studies from the Export-Import Bank of Korea expect rising content exports will lead to greater outbound shipments of consumer goods like cosmetics and food. A comic book depicting the lives of K-pop sensations BTS from their rise to stardom up to their mandatory military enlistment will soon be hitting stores in the U.S. According to Reuters on Thursday local time, Tidal Wave Comics will release the 22-page comic on January 10th. Paperback copies cost around $7.99. The hardback is around $19.99. This is the newest addition to its Fame series, a biographical comic book series that chronicles how various celebrities rose to fame, with past installments featuring the likes of Beyoncé, Taylor Swift, and David Beckham. Moving on, what does the K-culture scene have to offer this year? Our culture correspondent Song Yujin might have the answer to that.
As we step into 2024, here's a sneak peek of what the culture scene has in store. If you thought 2023 was a treat for streamers, brace yourself for an even more exciting lineup ahead. A bunch of blockbuster sequels are in store. Netflix is set to drop the second season of the Emmy Award-winning Squid Game in the latter half of the year. If you're into real-life survival challenges, get ready for Physical 100 Season 2, which last year topped the platform's non-English show chart. And don't forget Apple TV's breakout hit Pachinko, the winner of Best Foreign Language Series at the 2023 Critics' Choice Awards. The small screen is also making room for big screen titans. Cannes-winning filmmaker Park Chan-wook is collaborating with Netflix for the first time with a period thriller called War and Revolt. Another Cannes winner, actor Song Kang-ho, is making his drama debut with Disney Plus's Uncle Samsik. The silver screen is gearing up for a comeback after a lower-than-expected performance last year.
Last year, the success of 12/12 The Day signaled a comeback for moviegoers in theaters. We're looking at a bunch of titles lined up to premiere this year, more than what we had in 2023. Quite a lot of films had their premieres pushed back because of COVID-19.
The highlight? The sequel to the crime thriller Veteran is set to premiere at the year-end. Part 1 from 2015 sold over 13 million tickets. While waiting for that, film enthusiasts can enjoy Parasite director Bong Joon-ho's latest creation, Mickey 17, in March, and the fourth installment of the Roundup series in May. In the world of K-pop, get ready for K-pop style groups.
Before, the strategy was to include 1 or 2 non-Korean members in each group to appeal to the global market. The trend now is creating K-pop style groups tailored to the culture and preferences of the local audience, sometimes without any Korean members.
JYP Entertainment's global girl group Vicha is set to debut this month, while HYBE's Cat's Eye will drop their first album in the second quarter. And for all the BTS armies out there, the wait is almost over. Jin completes his military service in June, with J-Hope following suit in October. So get ready to immerse yourself in the world of K-culture in the year 2024. 송유진, Arirang News.
In sports, South Korean football player Kim Min-jae has been named among the best male football players for 2023. Every year, the International Federation of Football History and Statistics selects its top 11 players. The men's World Team 2023 was announced on its website on Thursday, and Kim Min-jae was named as one of the 3 defenders in the team. Last season, he was named the Italian League's best defender as he helped Napoli win their first title in 33 years. Meanwhile, the English Premier League announced 8 nominees for its December 2023 Player of the Month award, with Son Heung-min named on the shortlist, aiming for his 5th award. In other news, a South Korean tourist was shot to death in a gun attack in the U.S. Pacific territory of Guam. The Foreign Ministry said that the victim was shot by an armed robber on Thursday and was rushed to hospital but died. It added that Korean Consulate General in Guam has dispatched a consular official to provide assistance. Local media outlets report that the South Korean man, believed to be in his 50s, was killed in the Tumon tourist district.
The first solar term of the year, Sohan, is coming out tomorrow. As Sohan is considered the coldest time of winter, morning temperatures will drop by 5 to 10 degrees from today. Mountainous areas of Gangwon-do province will see frigid weather, with temperatures falling below -10 degrees Celsius. In most parts of the country, morning temperatures will be around -5 degrees. It's easy to catch a cold with these rapid temperature changes. Please take care. There is no forecast in Midwestern regions of the country between tomorrow night and dawn the day after tomorrow. In southern Gyeonggi-do and Chungcheong-do provinces, 1 to 3 centimeters, and in other areas such as Seoul, there will be less than 1 centimeter of snow. Ultrafine dust is expected to be resolved tomorrow as cold winds strengthen. Frigid spells will dominate nationwide. Seoul and Daejeon will start off at -4 degrees. The daily high temperatures ranges are huge tomorrow. Highs in Seoul and Chuncheon will get up to 4, Jeju and Busan 10 degrees Celsius. An extreme cold spell of around -10 degrees is expected again on Monday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that is all for this newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 10 p.m. with the AI headline news. Hope everyone has a great weekend and a good night.